How we doing, everybody? How are we doing tonight? Today is August the 17th, 2022, and I just started a new Q&A for real estate note investing. I'm going to be trying to get on here at least 3 times a week. So we shooting for Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays about this time, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Just to talk about note investing, taking any questions, trying to give people a little bit of information about it. It's something that I think that all people should look into, especially people who are working and have a retirement account, are looking to, obviously increase their passive income to support whatever that they're doing at their jobs. I think note investing is a great way to get into real estate. Most people that I know only know about fixing and flipping and buying and holding. So want to try and, just make people more aware about this. We are looking to try to partner with individuals. We're trying to put individuals together who have maybe a certain amount of money, don't think they have enough money to kind of get involved. We'll try to pool that together for you and make sure that you're getting a good return on your money. You are working hard for your money. It's time for your money to work as hard as you do for it. And real estate note investing is a way to get involved in real estate at a lower cost, and you're able to find some really good returns, low risk and very high reward. So, last on Monday, we talked about what a note is. A note basically is an IOU. If you've purchased a house, you're probably familiar or somewhat familiar with a note is. If you purchased a car, same thing. What happens is that they create terms for you to pay back the loan that you receive in order to move into a house, and that's called the note. And the note is secured in a lot of instances, or in most instances in the Northeast, by a mortgage. There are other security agreements that go along with notes, but most people are familiar with a mortgage. But we'll kind of get into some of what those other things are at another time. But if you have a home or purchased a home or know somebody that purchased a home, usually they get a 360 months to pay back that loan at a certain interest. The payment is due at a certain time of the month. You know what the interest rate is, you know what the payment is, and it also spells out what happens if for whatever reason you can't repay that loan. And then what we have the chance to do is to buy those payment streams. So if you have some money saved up, if you have a retirement account that you've been putting a money away to, you can use that money to buy a note, which is going to pay you into the future. You're paying with today's dollars for future payments. And because you do that, you're able to buy it at a discount, because obviously what your money buys today is not going to be the same things that it's going to be able to buy, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. If you look back, in the 90s, what it costs to do whatever it is, buy a car, buy a house, buy clothes. Obviously, it was less expensive, and things have gotten more expensive. And especially now with inflation and everything kicking in, that's the big word. People are really starting to feel it. So you have the ability to pay less money right now for what is owed to you in the future. So if you were to buy something today for $100, but it wasn't paid off until let's just say 200 months down the line, and somebody is paying you each month, obviously you're going to collect a lot more than that $100 that you invested. And that's just kind of like a simple example. But anytime that you look at what the per month mortgage is, or what you're paying per month to live in that property, and times it by the amount of payments that are still left on that particular loan, it's going to be a lot more usually, or a considerable more of an amount than what it is that you invested in. So that's why these things are great for a retirement account. A lot of people may be in their 30s, their 40s, early 50s, maybe not retiring for another 15 years, or, you may not plan on retiring until later on, after 65. So you have a number of years to be able to continue to collect payments. And what happens is when you talk about amortization, if you ever looked at an amortization schedule, um, early on in the loan, or for the first like 7 to 10 years, you're predominantly paying interest. I don't think you start paying the same amount of interest and principal until you get into like year 20, if you have a 360-month or 30-year mortgage. Obviously, if you have a different type of mortgage where it's 240 payments, 180 payments, that happens sooner. But the point is that a lot of the principal balance is still owed to you as a person who is a note holder. So you may, just for example, there may be a $50,000 house, and person has been living in the house for 6 years. After 6 years, technically their unpaid balance, or the balance that still needs to be paid off if they sold that house, could be like $45,000, $43,000. But in that 5 years, I think I said, or 6 years, you've been collecting monthly payments that whole time. So not only did you get that money, you also are still entitled to a lump sum. So that is why it's great to really do these within a retirement account, because most people don't live in a house 20, 30 years like they may have done 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Now people usually stay in houses. I think the average is probably somewhere around 7 years, 8 years. So let's just say if you bought it after a person has been in the house 5 years, there's a good chance, maybe by year 10, year 12, something like that, that they're either going to sell the house, possibly refinance the house. And anytime that you do that, there's still an unpaid balance that is owed to you. And when it comes to the amortization schedule, a lot of the principal is still going to be owed to you. So this is why we want people to understand notes, look at notes as an investment strategy, especially for someone looking for something long term. Right now, like I said earlier, inflation has kicked up. It's somewhere, between 7 and 9%, depending on, what economist and what information you follow. But obviously things have gotten somewhat more expensive. But then when you buy a note, you're able to know what your return on investment is going to be over a 12-month period. When you take the amount of money that you are going to pay for this note, and then you look at the monthly payments that are going to be owed to you over the next 12 months, or however many months is left on the loan, you will see that at the end of that first year, there's a certain return of the money that you put out. And a lot of times that can be right where this inflation is right now. So at least you're keeping up with inflation. I mean, if you are leaving your money in the bank, you're really losing money by doing that, by saving it. Obviously, not to give financial advice. I mean, you want to have money in the bank in case something happens. Most people talk about 6 months of reserves based on your bills and everything like that. But if you have anything maybe more than that in there, it's really, losing money. And then there are other ways, things that you can do to be able to have that 6 months of reserves. There's other avenues that you could take as opposed to just putting it in a bank, but that's a whole nother conversation. So if you do have lump sum of money, maybe something happened, you received a lot of money, you did well, if you are an investor, did well on an investment and have a lump sum of cash, whatever the case may be, wherever that money is, you would want to consider putting it into notes. And we're really trying to, like I said, get the word out on that and try to, have some conversations with people and show them how they can get a solid return and get it safely. Um, the reason being is that if something does go wrong, if the person doesn't pay, we always have the property to take back. And if you look at what the property is worth as opposed to what the amount of money that you have into this note, you can find yourself to be safe. You can be at a good ratio where if you got it back, you could sell it. If you got the property back through a foreclosure or something like that, you'd be able to sell it and make back the money that you invested plus a profit. So most investments, don't really have that type of safety. Everybody is looking, for something like that. That if something goes wrong, how do I recoup my money? And with notes, everything is spelled out legally. You're entitled to get the property back. Obviously in some states, it may take a little bit longer. There's other states that will take less time for you to get the property back, but eventually at some point you can get the property back and then be able to make sure that you protect your initial investment. So, that right there alone is probably the biggest reason to, look into this, just from the safety aspect of it. I mean, obviously, if you do make an investment, there's some level of risk there, but we're able to minimize risk because we always have the property. We can always take back the property to protect our investment. So, I really want people to look at, like I said, look at this opportunity. We're starting to see more things come on the market. The market is changing. These mortgage companies, financial institutions, they are cutting back on originating loans. So if you do own a note, or if you have a piece of property where you're thinking about selling it, you can possibly create a note and create an opportunity for somebody who can't go down to a lending institution, a regular bank, and get qualified. There are people out there who, as we mentioned earlier, may have some cash on their hands and looking for different opportunities, and you can kind of present them with those opportunities, and we can help you structure that so that you're safe. You're becoming the bank, so to speak. And now you can receive monthly income by creating a note on a property that you own. You can create a property on it that you can create a note on a property that already has a mortgage on it. Maybe if you lived there a long time or owned it a long time, and there's a lot of equity in the property, you can create a note to keep your equity, to keep that equity position, because as this market flattens, and maybe takes a dip in terms of market value and what properties are going for, yours is already built in. Because again, once you structure this note at, let's just say $50,000, that's what the person owes, no matter if the market value of the house, let's say it drops below 50,000, that person still owes that debt. And then again, based on what you have into it, if you have to take the property back and then sell it, what could you sell it at to do that? Or you could create another note, you can create a rental. There's a lot of different things that you can do to protect yourself. So that's what's great about it. So, that's kind of the basic idea about it, is that you're buying these future payments. How many payments, is really up to you and really what you can get it at. And then another trick is that once you buy, let's just say you buy 200 payments, you can still sell some of your payments. Maybe somebody else that's looking for an investment. You can reach out to them and say, hey, I can sell you 100 of these payments for X amount of dollars. Now, depending on what you purchased it for, you may have gotten all of your money back, a considerable amount of your money back, but you still have an ownership interest in that unpaid balance. Every payment after those 100 that you sold, and if there was 200 left on it, payment 101 through 200 is still owed to you. So after that 100th payment is paid and then that person's out, you're back in there as the primary person getting that monthly payment. for the rest of the time. So you've gotten a lump sum, and then now after a while, you're back to getting the monthly payments as well. And then maybe you can take that money, that lump sum, and go do another deal, whatever the case may be. But, you've essentially recouped, most of your money, all of your money. And like I said, you still have an unpaid balance. And if you look at that unpaid balance after payment 100, it's going to be a good amount. It's going to be more than what it is that you have, what you purchased this for. So you're in a good position. And that's kind of an advanced technique, so to speak. It's called a partial, selling a partial, where you buy a whole note and you sell a partial. But, I'm just trying to, tell people and trying to take some questions about real estate note investing. And people should really, really look into it. Like I said, especially if you've been on a job, 3, 4, 5 years, have some type of 401k or retirement plan. You have the ability to take more control of it and try to get some better returns than what you're getting. Things in the stock market, I know that they were, going great for a long time. That's starting to adjust as well. So when you look at your statements year to year, how much money based on what you put in there did it grow? Was it 2%, 3%, 6%? It could have been maybe 15. I don't know. But once you look at year to year, you may get 15, 20% one year. And then the next year, you may get 2 or 3%. So if you average that out, what is that? But this, you have more control. You can get that consistent monthly income. You can get lump sums of cash. When you're in the note business, again, by doing some of the things that I talked about, those advanced techniques. So it all depends on what it is that you're looking to do, what you have to invest. I don't want this to be strictly for, people feel like, oh, you got to have $25,000, $50,000. No, you can have, $2,500, $5,000. You can do things for less than that too. But we'd probably have to, pull you together with some other resources. But your money still is going to be working for you within that, and everything will be spelled out for you. You'll know what you'll be getting each month, and there's a third party that will send the money directly to you. So it's not like somebody else can just run off with your money or anything like that. That can't happen. So just really want people to look at this opportunity, take advantage of this opportunity. There's anywhere between, like, I think 1.5 to 2 million houses that are in some form of delinquency, and banks are not going to foreclose on these properties. And even if my number is wrong, let's just say it's less than 1 million, there's still a lot of opportunity out there, because these big banks, what happens is that they're going to start to pull their bad assets and sell them off. And then they eventually kind of get down to this level where smaller investors can take advantage of the opportunity. Also, like I said, if you're somebody who owns a property, has a rental property, has more than one rental property, maybe you want to look at creating a note as opposed to the other properties that you have that are renting. And then at the end of the year, you can kind of compare the two. Because with a rental property, you could go 2-3 years making cash flow, and then boom, a major repair has to happen. You get a bad tenant. You wind up spending legal fees to evict somebody or whatever the case may be. The cleanup of the property after they leave. What is your real cash flow? What is the real amount that you realized, over the course that you own this particular rental property, and then maybe it's just has become a job as opposed to just collecting rent. Maybe it's become more of a job, and you have all of these expenses. Those are things that you don't have in notes. You're the bank. You're just collecting payments, and then you may have to get involved if certain things don't go the way that they're supposed to. But that's a little bit easier of a process in most cases. So I'm here, like I said, I try to be here 3 nights a week. This is the first week that I'm doing it. If you watch the replay, catch me this Friday about 8:30. If you have some questions, want to get them answered for you, And really want people to just to look at this opportunity, just really start to look into it and see what it can do for you in terms of your investing goals. So, and like I said, I'm usually not here long, 15, 20 minutes at the most, depending on how many people have questions, how many people join. But, my telephone number is 973-475-8488. And you can email me at investorgmr@yahoo.com. If you watch the replay and you want to send me a text, call me, or an email, please do with any questions. I'll try to, lead you in the right direction. If I can't answer it, I do know, have some resources of people that can get your question answered. But, now is the time. A lot of people, I don't, who may see this, they're talking about there being a wealth transfer right now of what's going on and what is about to happen. And it's time to take advantage of it. We have to take advantage of these opportunities. I didn't take advantage of it back in 2008 when I should have, when I first kind of got into it. And I just don't want to miss this opportunity, and I don't want anybody else to miss it. So also, if you follow me on my social media, there's a young lady, she's out of New York. I forget her name. Oh, her name is Lorraine. Let me find out what her last name is really quickly. Lorraine Millington. She's at Melanin Homes on YouTube. She is having a free webinar on Saturday. The link will be, in the link will be in the comments for this, and I'll be posting it. So be on the lookout for that. It's free. If you're not doing anything around 12 o'clock on Saturday, join in. She's going to be talking about notes. She's an African-American woman in the tri-state area. She's in New York doing this business. So, you might want to, if you have some time, check it out. With that being said, I'm going to take off for today. I hope everybody has a good night. And if you want to come back on Friday night, please do. Please join me about 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions, if you start to look at this in your spare time and have some questions, please either email me or hop on. I'll answer it right here. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.